Good evening and welcome to Camnet Television News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo to present the news. Our top stories in the news tonight. PF member CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI claims to be the right person to take over party presidency. Government challenged to state its position on the National House of Prayer. The UPND labeled treacherous for abandoning its alliance partners. In international news, South Africa concerned over sale of bogus auto parts. And in sports news, FARS keen to ensure transparency on match ticket sales.
On Monday, 13th June 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Economic Front President, Mr. Winter Kavimba.
You know, power is only sour when it is in the hands of somebody else. When it is transferred into your hands, it becomes sweet, and all the wrongs that you saw with other people become right because now you're in power. So to attribute the increase, the rapid increase now, or the continued increase in commodity prices to the war in Ukraine is really not being truthful. Again, that is one thing that the UPND government has failed to own up.
Topic of discussion: where has Zambia gone wrong?
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On TSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello again, another news in detail. Some residents of Lusaka's Kabwata constituency have complained over the non-collection of garbage at the Kabwata Community Hall. They say this is despite paying for garbage collection fees to the Lusaka City Council LCC. More in the following report.
Despite Zambia having the Waste Management Unit, WMU, which is the regulatory unit for waste management in the country, mandated to plan, organize, execute and supervise waste management services, most residential areas in the country have excess garbage that have accumulated and as such poses a serious health threat to the health of the citizenry. Recently, the Ministry in charge of health recorded cases of cholera that was brought about by poor sanitation and hygiene in most residential areas. In Lusaka's Kabwata constituency market, excess garbage has accumulated, hence making it inhabitable for members of the public. We took time to interview some residents who have bemoaned the non-collection of garbage at Kabwata Community Hall. They lamented that despite paying the Lusaka City Council garbage collection levy, very little has been done to eradicate this challenge.
Staying here around Community Hall, they've stopped coming and collect the garbages. And look at the way it looks, it's not healthy. And there's a church.
Meanwhile, some congregants who fellowship in the same hall at the Prophetic Shalom Ministries Church have expressed concerns over the bad odor produced from the garbage.
Affected by this bin because it is near to our church, as you can see, and it is smelling. In fact, even the smell itself goes inside the church, and our members are complaining. Even the Sunday school children, as you can see, they also complain that the smell is too bad. So we are just asking for the council management to please do something concerning this bin because it is not good for our health, especially for the young ones. You can see actually they are even having Sunday school.
A lot of diseases. Remember, this is the season. It's the season for corona. So inani kandikambo chita chikambokunda is affect wantu wambili because of the chibini shiri hapa. So kufanika tristi tipempako kuliwa kanso batitandizireko kuvicho sako hivi.
Messi Chanika reporting, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Some stakeholders have attributed the increased cases of access to controlled medicines such as Benylin cough syrup, among others, to the increase in the number of illegal pharmacies. Pharmaceutical expert Jerome Kanyika says there is a need to harmonize laws that govern the access to controlled medicines in the country. Meanwhile, the Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority, ZAMRA, Public Relations Officer Ludovic Mwape has attributed the surge in the use and the abuse of such medicines to unprofessionalism among health officials. Nelson Zulu reports.
Despite having laws such as the Narcotic and Psychotropic Act No. 35 of 2021, Medicines and Allied Substance Act No. 3 of 2013, among other laws that guard against abuse of drugs by citizens in the country, the narrative is not seeing a shift to abiding to the set regulations. Some medicinal products such as Benylin and cough syrup, among others, are being used as a drug pressure among young people, and regulating this conduct has proved to be a huge task as the trend of self-prescription is being entertained by pharmacists. For street kids, the drugs are a catalyst for good sleep in the code. This has become an issue for every compound. People in Lusaka's Chawama, John Howard compounds, among other areas, are concerned. And one of the pharmacists in John Howard compound explains to this journalist that Benylin or codeine and blue mash are being abused in various compounds and the demand for the drugs is too high.
Who had a lot of clothes, and then when you tell them, how is still a who's going to buy half the bottle? Because if you sell you have to buy the whole bottle. And then you hear them go like, but Chawa Baba Machita so come guys, we all have more like they have it in my bag, then they go to such areas to go sell the same tablet.
Pharmaceutical expert Jerome Kanyika explains that the increase in such cases is due to lack of professionalism and called for a review of the Medicines and Allied Substance Act No. 3 of 2013 and Health Profession Council Act in order to seal loopholes that have been created.
We need now to make sure that we change the way pharmacies are regulated in Zambia, and this can only be done once we review the Medicine and Allied Substance Act and also the Health Professions Council Act.
Meanwhile, the Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority ZAMRA Public Relations Officer Ludovic Mwape explains that inspections will be heightened and feels the increased access of controlled drugs has come about owing to the influx of unregistered pharmacies.
You find that most places that are not registered by the authority sell these products indiscriminately to people without getting prescriptions from them. Increased access can also be attributed to the manner in which the professionals are handling the products. We have also increased sensitization as well as collaborative inspections of outlets that are not ready.
However, Namtula Sindila, who is Vision Zambia Initiative Executive Director, explains that clear-cut results of regulating controlled medicines can only be achieved once stakeholders work in unison and not in isolation.
We need the laws, the Zambia police and everybody else that is operating under the law, and the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Home Affairs, to also jump onto the bandwagon and ensure that these drugs are limited in supply, and those that are supplying to would-be addicts are brought to book.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Some Lusaka residents have opposed the proposal by the power utility company ZESCO to increase domestic electricity connectivity tariffs from 769 kwacha to 4,700 kwacha. In an interview with Camnet News, Akim Musukuma and others note that the increase will make it impossible to steer inclusive access to electricity. Meanwhile, Patriotic Front Chama Member of Parliament Davison Mungandu says the move will hinder rural electrification and is likely to fuel deforestation due to the high demand for charcoal production. More in the following report.
Whilst in opposition on 29th of December 2014, the Republican President, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, reiterated that his government, once forming power, would reduce electricity tariffs. Mr. Hichilema said high electricity tariffs were negatively affecting businesses, stating that most entrepreneurs were finding it difficult to meet costs as a result of high tariffs. Fast forward to 12th August 2021. The Zambian people voted for United Party for National Development. Despite being voted into power and the many promises made prior to the general elections, some Lusaka residents have opposed the proposal by ZESCO of increasing domestic electricity connectivity tariffs from 769 to 4,700 kwacha. Camnet TV caught up with some who had this to say.
Mwatima sevenzera sisi mwaminana ikira kapani tarifi kusevenza tisevenza kuti tizitikire mitengo chingala chovuta venango wakana mitengo aliyense nikubwera kutandaura pobwera kugereza uromuze mitengo aide siniviziva because izi nase tipesa tingala na peni na izi mwaona so at least mwantakambira but at least nase funga mitengo stebwanzi zaiga pamwa tangala pamwamba because kuno zataba wina ngagera olo zingati simugwirizana abantu kuti msenzere pamozi oyazagera mtengo wake oyazagera mtengo wake so because tinya mukira pamwamba tonze tingala che down mayona so kusira kwa deo pesa ati at least pasevenza kwa at least badia ko wana naye chitefi abantu tibakwanisha muni fafina mufyaka ne fafina abantu balaba able kwanisha.
The residents fear not being connected to the national grid.
Vintu vavuta vantu vadibena na drama vadibena manchito. Ero manje nangu azafuna kufuna kutaike malaita azafuna. Manje drama za mnezo za mpwezera kumbuyo. Kaidi kudibe kwa naza ichosa. Ipeze kakudia kwa kweka inkala niyo vutikira. Ni vambili vaneti vutikana na veve.
Meanwhile, Patriotic Front Chama Member of Parliament Davison Mungando says most people living in high-density areas risk not being connected to the national grid.
Was also constructed going into rural communities so that our people can have access to electricity. If anything, electricity is the engine for any economic development. You cannot talk of development if you do not have a reliable source of energy. The difference between us and rural communities is electricity. That's a fact. Our colleagues are in darkness, even in our own cities where we are, Lusaka. If it has been plunged into darkness, those of us who come from rural areas, immediate memories of rural communities come into mind. The New Dawn government has increased connection fees. PF government reduced connection fees for those of us who live in high-density areas. For example, if you live in Kanyama, you live in Mtendere like me, you live in Garden, you are supposed to pay 700 kwacha. The idea behind that was to enable our communities, to enable our poor people to afford to connect to electricity.
The president was speaking when he addressed a rally at Mpezeni Presidential Square in Chipata. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The National House of Prayer has become a white elephant as construction works which started 8 years ago have stalled. The Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFZ, Executive Director Bishop Andrew Mwenda has urged the United Party for National Development UPND administration to give its position on the House of Prayer. Reverend Mwenda has suggested that once completed, the House of Prayer should be given to the church to run it. Meanwhile, Council of Churches in Zambia Secretary General Father Emmanuel Chikoya has proposed that the House of Prayer should be given to the defense chaplains, saying it risks becoming an orphaned institution. More in this report.
Former Zambia's Republican President Edgar Lungu declared 18th October as the day of prayer, fasting, repentance and reconciliation. However, in the past, this day could not live up to its expectation as we had a divided Christian community, including those for individuals. And politicians were holding on to their grudges and could not converge and forgive each other. And most of all, there was too much
the hypocrisy, where people say good things and they do bad things.
Yes, hypocrisy, where we saw others praying while others were being blocked by the police from visiting the prisons to mark the day of prayer. Meanwhile, it has been 8 years ever since the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the new cathedral, the National House of Prayer in Lusaka, was held. Up to date, only these structures can be seen, and no one has opted to inform the nation as to why the project has stalled. Financial accounts were created in 2015 for people to contribute towards its construction, but no one has bothered to inform the nation how much was raised and utilized. Well, President Hakainde Hichilema and his administration, since taking over office, have not communicated anything on the House of Prayer, and Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFZ Executive Director Bishop Andrew Mwenda is seeking government stance on the matter.
Of the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia. So as EFZ, we're still waiting for the ministry, the director of Ministry of National Guidance and Religious Affairs to call us and tell us what's the way forward. Since then, we don't know who is leading it, who is going to do what. We still are waiting for him. My suggestions are very simple. As EFZ is, maybe say much more, maybe as myself, is that I think there should be a way, we must find a way to complete that building. It will not be the best idea to leave it the way it is for a long time.
Bishop Mwenda also made recommendations.
Prefer that if when the building is complete, it should be handed over to the church in particular for management. And the church can easily see how they can manage it and manage it profitably.
Meanwhile, Council of Churches in Zambia General Secretary Father Emmanuel Chikoya says they were not consulted before the project commenced and tells us that it is a lesson on the need to ensure consensus on national matters.
So we've had that kind of history that first we were not consulted, we were thought of as an afterthought, and one or two other mother bodies were thought of as an afterthought. You cannot undertake buildings of that nature and you neglect very critical stakeholders in the process. I hope we've learned a lesson, so that no matter how long it takes, it's better to labor through, to discuss until consensus is built, so that whatever it is that comes as a product is owned. And so I want to categorically state that we are for prayer, and we've always been involved in prayers in this country.
And Father Chikoya suggested different views on how the facility can be managed.
Look at the management, the nitty-gritties of how that huge facility will be handled. It's better left to the Directorate of Chaplaincy because it will be more efficient. It can still be open for use by other stakeholders, but there will be clear people that are able to manage, sustain it, as opposed to having this non-denominational facility that could have challenges. Facilities like Heroes Stadium could be a wake-up call. Look at the maintenance, and even Levy itself, look at the maintenance. And so when you create orphaned institutions, it becomes a challenge.
By broadcast time, our efforts to get the stance of the Religious Affairs Directorate could not materialize. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
All People's Congress Party leader Nelson Msoni has labeled the United Party for National Development treacherous for allegedly abandoning its alliance partners. Mr. Msoni has cautioned the United Party for National Development against trivializing the formation of political alliances among opposition political parties. Last week, various opposition political parties agreed to speak with one voice on matters of national interest. Among the political parties include the Patriotic Front, the Economic Front, Economic and Equity Party EEP, and the National Democratic Congress, among others. He says the UPND must not forget that it is a product of a political alliance, even if it has allegedly betrayed its partners.
the attempt by the opposition political parties to forge an alliance or to work together. Our unsolicited view, our view is that it's a dangerous political estimation to underestimate a political alliance, especially if you yourselves were a product of a political alliance. It is not a secret that the PF lost elections in August 2021 because they had similarly underestimated the UPND alliance. They said it was an alliance of jokers. They said it was an alliance of briefcase political parties. What happened? They lost political power. So for you, who are a product of a political alliance, you start making such statements that they're political jokers. Muzadabwa. And especially when you have betrayed the very people that came to you at the weakest point. You betray such people, such leaders, such alliance partners. It is being politically myopic. Where we are going, the game is going to get tough. It will get very tough. Bear in mind. Bear in mind that you have betrayed your comrades, your colleagues that came for you when you needed friends.
Opposition Patriotic Front member CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI says he is the right person to lead the party because he carries its vision. In an interview, Dr. KAMBWILI, who is one of the party's presidential aspirants, feels he is democratically obligated to take over the leadership of the party, which lost power to the United Party for National Development (UPND) during the August 12, 2021 general election. Meanwhile, Dr. KAMBWILI says despite having the much-needed experience and knowledge to run the affairs of the party, he will, however, let members decide whom they want during the party's elective conference. More in this report.
As the Patriotic Front Party is racing against time to host its elective general conference to elect the party president to take over from former Republican and party president Edgar Lungu after he relinquished the party post, PF presidential aspirant CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI feels he is democratically obligated to take over the leadership of the party, which lost power to the United Party for National Development in August 2021. And even though reports have indicated that the opposition political party has failed to meet its 5 million kwacha budget to host the convention, which would see the ushering of a new party president, Dr. KAMBWILI says the convention will definitely take place, and despite him holding the view that he is the right person to lead the party, he leaves it all to party members to make that decision.
The convention will definitely come, and when the convention comes, my feeling is that today PF is in a situation where we are because of just uncertainty. You know, we've lost a few members who are not patient because of uncertainty of who is the future president, substantive president for that matter. And I feel that once the convention is held, the president is elected, whether CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI or anybody, people will unite behind that person who's going to be elected. And I think what you are seeing as squabbles will definitely come to an end.
Meanwhile, Dr. KAMBWILI, who claims to have a lot of experience and vision on where to take Zambia, says once he is elected as the party leader, he will ensure that he ushers back the party into power and help address the sufferings that majority Zambians are facing.
When you aspire, you always think you are the right person. But the onus is on the people who are going to elect the president to lead the party. You expect me to say that I'm not the right person? Why am I aspiring if I'm not the right person? You know, but even Emmanuel Mwamba would say he's the right person. Even given Winda would say is the right person. That is why we need the convention, for the people to go and say, as far as we are concerned as PF, this is the man that we want. Proactivity and not being reactive. Proactivity and not being reactive. Pro-poor and not being capitalist.
PF Acting President Given Lubinda, former Information Minister CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI, PF Chairman for Legal Affairs Brian Mundiwile, and former Ambassador to Ethiopia Emmanuel Mwamba are some of the party presidential hopefuls. The party is currently rebranding after losing the 12 August 2021 general elections to the current administration. The former ruling party has said that it is instilling discipline in the party and doing away with hooliganism. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Economic and Equity Party leader Chilufya Tayali has charged that the United Party for National Development administration risks losing popularity if it does not quickly act on making the lives of Zambians better as promised when in opposition. In an interview, Mr. Tayali states that the current administration should create an enabling business environment for the locals as opposed to prioritizing foreigners. He says Zambians expect to see substantive change in their lives after a change of government. Meanwhile, Mr. Tayali has urged the government to do business with locals and stop segregation on account of their political affiliation.
The times when I speak out, people think that I just want to attack the government. It's not about attacking the government. It's not about me wanting this government to fail. No. What I want to see is substantive change in people's lives. We have changed the government, but after changing government, we expect to see substantive change in the lives of people. That's what I want to see. And why are we not seeing that change in the lives of people? We can talk about all these statistics. We can talk about the inflation. We can talk about the exchange rate. But all these statistics, economic statistics, don't mean a thing if the lives of people is difficult. At the moment, this government, what they urgently need is to see how they can oil the economy, how they can, make the economy liquid. In other ways, how they can give money to people. At the moment, the biggest struggle that we have is money. Most of us are struggling to get money.
Meanwhile, the opposition Democratic Party faction led by Judith Kabemba has accused the United Party for National Development government of failing to adequately implement some of its policy pronouncements. In an interview, DP National Executive Committee member Justin Nkonge says the current governing party should be action-oriented. More in this report.
Wow, only being 9 months in office, the United Party for National Development administration has been accused of being poor at implementing some of its pronouncements it has made so far. Soon after being ushered into office, the current governing party made several pronouncements that it intends to implement. However, some opposition political parties feel that it is not living up to its promise. The opposition Democratic Party, Judith Kabemba-led faction, accuses the current administration of being bad at implementing but only good at talking.
The UPND also, they need to improve on issues to do implementation. Look, we are talking about employment of teachers. Up to today it has been forth and back. I think they need to begin holding the bull by its horn and make some of these implementations in order for them to come and achieve. Important of everything that the UPND government should do. When the youths of Zambia, together with other Zambians, removed PF, removing PF was not the end, was a means of punishing the perpetrators, the criminals, because PF ruined this country. They scampered the resources of this country.
Meanwhile, the DP says some of the pronouncements made by the current administration need to start manifesting into action, as this sends a bad signal to the citizens of Zambia who voted for them.
Mr. President, if you are hearing me, the biggest reward you will give the people of Zambia for voting for you is to make sure that those criminals who stole money are brought to book. I can assure you that is what every Zambian and everyone is looking for. To be playing politics and entering in those agreements to say this person stole, and yet they entered into some agreement. Because the issue, like for example, concerning my brother Chitote, the issue is not that he never stole. He agreed that he stole, but except he paid back some peanuts, and therefore he should be let go. Who does that? Where is justice for the poor? Should the poor steal a goat, and when they bring back a leg of a goat, then you say you got scot-free? That is not the way it should be, Mr. President and the UPND government. The biggest work that we will do is to get back the money which the PF criminals stole. At least you can come and say you worked, the Zambians will be able to trust you.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has implored citizens to work in line with the Christian principles in order to ensure that communities are well served and developed in the country. Speaking when he attended church service at Life Cathedral Church in Chingola Sunday on the Copperbelt, President Hichilema advised the citizens to always look up to God for strength in times of trouble. He says there is need for Zambians to be strong and resilient in ensuring that peace and love flourish in the country, and assured the congregants that his administration is keen on safeguarding citizens' welfare. President Hichilema has since appealed to the citizens to uphold unity and peace.
We came to celebrate unity. We did not come to divide. We came to unite. And I want to appeal to you that unity is the best meaning. Unity in diversity. God made some of us tall, others short. Bambi answer is Bambi, but they are all the same. See how great God is? Some are darker, some are lighter. Some have big ears like him, others have small ears. But we are all God's children. And I want to ask the leaders of our churches to help unite faith. Nothing possible, nothing good will come out of divisions. When we preach divisions, no, that's ungodly. We're Christian nation today. How is it that we, the Christians, profess to be Christian nation, and we're Christian, yet we wake every morning, we wake up to divide people? So we've taken a decision that we're here to unite, not to divide.
You're watching Camnet Television and not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
I've always been passionate about moving forward as fast as I could. Even as a child, all I ever wanted was to take first place at everything I put work towards. Whether I'm on the track or in the lecture room, my goal is to come out on top.
Growing up, we were always called Mafasho. You could say this paved the way for who we would become. We owe our success to our understanding of the power of storytelling, understanding what people connect to in order to give them what they desire.
We have always been passionate about people and honoring their stories. Our learning experience gave us the knowledge to channel our creativity into a business.
In order to start any successful journey, we must have a place to start. Even if that means we keep our mental image in focus, as we become the inevitable solution to society's inevitable problems.
Which is why we all start our journey here.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
There's so much data.
Mom? Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
On Monday, 13th June 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Economic Front President, Mr. Winter Kabimba.
Power is only sour when it is in the hands of somebody else. When it is transferred into your hands, it becomes sweet, and all the wrongs that you saw with other people become right because now you are in power. So to attribute the increase, the rapid increase now, or the continued increase in commodity prices to the war in Ukraine is really not being truthful. Again, that is one thing that the UPND government has failed to own up.
Topic of discussion: where has Zambia gone wrong?
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On DSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Patriotic Front Kamfisa constituency member of Parliament Christopher Kangombe has charged that the United Party for National Development government has boycotted infrastructure development. Mr. Kangombe says the UPND wants to rely on infrastructure projects that were left uninitiated by the Patriotic Front. Mr. Kangombe tells Camnet News that with population growth and increased demand for services, the country cannot continue to depend on old infrastructure.
10 years down the line, that infrastructure gap was not completely closed. Even the new guys that have taken over have found other gaps, and one of the other gaps is obviously areas that were not tackled by the Patriotic Front. Our expectation as members of Parliament, both from the opposition political parties, including those backbenchers from UPND, I know they can't speak. It's our duty to freely comment. Our expectation is that the trajectory that was noticed, schools being built, hospitals being built, water supply projects being commenced and concluded, these should have continued. Yes, there's been this challenge of resources. The country has no resources. No, the issue is priorities. If CDF money can be increased from 1.6 million to 25, which represents about 2.3%, it shows that government is committed to a certain aspect of the budget. We could have seen a similar interest in issues to do with infrastructure. So my perception of the current government is that infrastructure is not on top of their agenda. My perception, having worked from the lowest level of governance, a councillor, mayor, and now MP, I don't see that desire from the current government to put resources into infrastructure.
Iteji member of Parliament, who is also Parliamentary Committee Chairperson for Education, Science and Technology, Twambo Mutinta, has bemoaned the lack of child safeguarding and protection policies in private and government schools in the country. The lawmaker, who is also a child's rights activist, says the lives of Zambian children, especially in rural areas, are at risk as they are exposed to a lot of harm due to a lack of deliberate school-based child safeguarding policies and mechanisms. Mr. Mutinta disclosed that Zambia is ranked one of the bottoms in Africa in juvenile justice and child protection systems, and this explains why the country has continued to lose the lives of children through school-based accidents and other forms of child abuse. Mr. Mutinta has further called for increased investment and capacity building of teachers and the standard officers on child safeguarding and principles. Recently, a 4-year-old boy died in Lusaka at a domicile preschool after a table fell on him, and in Mazabuka at Nanga Secondary School, 4 pupils died after drowning in a river.
So really for us, this calls for serious introspection on how as a country we are addressing issues to do with child safeguarding. We need to ensure that we speed up the process of enacting the child safeguarding national guidelines, and we also need to ensure that we speed up the process of enacting the child code bill. More important, we need to see to it that the standards officers in the schools, in the Ministry of Education, they are oriented on child safeguarding principles, and the teachers in colleges, they need to understand the principles of child safeguarding. And at the point of recruitment, the teaching council should ensure that they recruit teachers who demonstrate that they understand, that they have a full understanding of the principles of child safeguarding, so that the young people in the schools, they will easily report such kind of vices. And the young people in the schools, they have infrastructure, they have system that will protect them against any form of harm within the school and outside the school.
Okay.
And on a sad note, 4 pupils of Nanga High School in Nega area of Mazabuka district in Southern Province have died after drowning in a pit filled with water. Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale says facts are that the 4 pupils were among other Nanga High School cadets who were conducting training in an old gravel pit filled with water and died after they failed to swim. He says the incident is believed to have occurred on June 11, 2022 between 16 hours and 17 hours near Nanga High School in Nega, Mazabuka district. Mr. Mwale says the deceased pupils have been identified as Louis Sindembi, 16, Ezila Mwemba, 14, Vincent Simfukwe, 16, all grade 10 pupils, and Peter Chivabe, 18, a grade 12 pupil. He disclosed that police and fire brigade officers rushed to the scene and managed to retrieve the body of Louis Sindembi around 20 hours, while the 3 other bodies were retrieved today around 06 hours. Meanwhile, a 41-year-old man identified as Leonard Chanda drowned while he was fishing in the Kafiwe River.
4 pupils of Nanga High School in Nega area of Mazabuka district in Southern Province drowned in a pit filled with water. Brief facts of the incident are that the 4 pupils were among other Nanga High School cadets who were doing some training in an old gravel pit filled with water when they failed to swim. All the bodies have been deposited in Mazabuka General Hospital mortuary awaiting postmortem. The cadet who was in charge of the training and 4 others are currently held in police custody. And a 41-year-old man identified as Leonard Chanda drowned while he was fishing in the Kafiwe River. The deceased is suspected to have drowned on June 11, 2022, between 10 hours and 12 hours in the Kafiwe River in the Kafiwe district.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
On Monday, 13th June 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Economic Front President, Mr. Winter Kabimba.
You know, power is only sour when it is in the hands of somebody else. When it is transferred into your hands, it becomes sweet, and all the wrongs that you saw with other people become right because now you are in power. So to attribute the increase, the rapid increase now or the continued increase in commodity prices to the war in Ukraine is really not being truthful. Again, that is one thing that the UPND government has failed to own up.
Topic of discussion: where has Zambia gone wrong?
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On DSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. And now in international news, South Africa's automotive industry is facing an influx of illegal parts in the market. A large share of fake parts are reported to be from China. Trafficking of counterfeit vehicle parts such as brake pads and oil filters is becoming a significant economic problem for the motor vehicle parts supplier industry. This year, the South African police discovered fake vehicle bearings at a Johannesburg warehouse worth close to 200 million United States dollars. Automotive experts in South Africa warn that bogus aftermarket parts can be life-threatening for motorists. Meanwhile, thousands of people have rallied on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. and across the U.S. as part of a renewed push for nationwide gun controls following the recent massacre of students and teachers at an elementary school in Alverde, Texas. Speaker after speaker in Washington on Saturday called on U.S. senators who are seen as a major impediment to stricter gun legislation to act or face being voted out of office. More than 450 rallies were scheduled, including events in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, according to March for Our Lives, a gun safety group founded by student survivors of a 2018 massacre at a high school in Florida. Here's a roundup of international news for more.
South Africa's automotive industry is facing an influx of illegal auto parts in the market. A large share of fake parts are reported to be from China. Trafficking of counterfeit vehicle parts such as brake pads and oil filters is becoming a significant economic problem for the motor vehicle parts supplier industry. This year, the South African police discovered fake vehicle bearings at a Johannesburg warehouse worth close to $200 million. Automotive experts say bogus aftermarket parts can be life-threatening.
In the road shows that took place around the country, net effect of the destruction goods was to the tune of R500 million. Now, in terms of USD, that would be 31 million USD worth of goods were destroyed. And these were products that were entering our borders, as counterfeit products. Certainly, they don't meet the necessary specifications that we have.
Mobile mechanic startup Fixer believes that Africa's $30 billion aftercare car market lacks a reliable auto part sector.
What you see in South Africa is a very mature automotive space, both in part supply and as well as mechanic skills. In a lot of the other markets, you've got almost places like Nigeria where you have 90% of the cars are second-hand. You don't have a reliable parts market as well. You don't have reliably trained and skilled mechanics. So everyone is trying to do the best with what they can. So those markets have great capacity for manipulation.
This Johannesburg mechanic says the sale of counterfeit auto parts is very common for consumers who have limited knowledge on the origin of vehicle parts.
I have 63 years experience in repairing cars. I usually notice fake auto parts by looking at the labels. When I come across a customer's car that has counterfeit parts, I alert them.
South Africa's automotive industry believes that the sector needs to create a whistleblower hotline where cases of illicit trading may be reported. Wandi Swantengendo, Johannesburg, South Africa, Africa News.
Rain kept away many, but did little to diminish the spirit of the thousands that came to protest. More than 19,000 people in the United States have died in gun-related violence this year alone. And after the recent massacre of elementary school children in Uvalde, Texas, those here insist that enough is enough.
We're not asking for a lot.
Washington, D.C.'s mayor summarizing the feeling of all at the rally.
We're demanding change, and we're demanding change now. We need our fellow Americans, a majority of Americans who share our values, to let their senators know that they either need to make change now or get out of our way.
Far too often we've had too many mass shootings across the country, and we're not just going to sit around in our houses and just let it happen. We're going to come out, we're going to show Congress and everyone, one of our elected officials, that we need them to do their job.
Many traveling from out of state to attend this rally.
Tallulah came from Massachusetts to attend this rally. What do you want to see? Why did you come?
I came here because my school, they found live bullets in the bathroom, the boys' bathroom, so it made me feel like I needed to be here for that reason. And plus that this gun violence is becoming a huge problem.
Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
The rallies took place across the country,
Peace for everyone! We'll call for peace!
including Buffalo, still reeling from a racially motivated attack in May that took the lives of 10 black people at a local market.
It has shredded our very existence. People are scared to go into stores. Our kids are scared to go to school.
It was a day on which hundreds of thousands of Americans came together with one common message. Mike Hanna, Al Jazeera, Washington.
It's now time for sports news. And in sports news tonight, the Football Association of Zambia has reviewed a total revenue pegged from the match between Zambia and Comoros at 1,702,600 kwacha, while total expenses were at 818,229 kwacha. In a statement to Camnet News, FAS General Secretary Adrian Kashala says the support from fans heeded the call to buy tickets ahead of the highly anticipated clash at National Heroes Stadium. Kashala says that releasing the numbers from the gate charges is consistent with the current FAS executive that had placed transparency at the core of its operations. Kashala notes that it was overwhelming to receive support throughout the 90 minutes in the game played between Comoros and Zambia. The Chipolo Polos' next AFCON engagement are back-to-back engagements against Lesotho in September. To end Camnet Television News, the headlines once again. PF member CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI claims to be the right person to take over party presidency. Government challenged to state its position on the National House of Prayer. The UPND labeled treacherous for abandoning its alliance partners. In international news, South Africa concerned over sale of bogus auto parts. In sports news, FAS keen to ensure transparency on match ticket sales. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, which is coming from the book of Matthew 7, verse 13 to 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Thank you once again for watching the news. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.